after a month of dating a guy, how many of you would give him the code to your phone? Exactly. Most people be like, no, I ain't giving the man the code to my phone. I said, okay. I said, now listen, I'm not trying to get your business, but in your history, how many of you have already given him your body in that same period of time?
The Tall Boy Experience.
Y'all, it's your boy DeVon Franklin, author of the new book, The Truth About Men. Do you want the experience? Well, guess what? Tall Boy is about to give it to you round table style. Stay tuned right here.
No, I don't think that the blame is at the feet of celebrities. I mean, I see all types of men, celebrity or not, having a hard time staying committed or choosing not to stay committed. So I don't think that's a celebrity problem. I think it's a man problem. And I think that, as men, part of it is curbing our appetite. And a lot of that starts in dating. And I talk about that in the book. It's like, hey, if you have no discipline in dating and all of a sudden you get married, it's going to be very hard to be disciplined in marriage. And to your point about what women find attractive, I don't spend a whole lot of time dealing with women and what women have to do better and the lust of women, even though I do touch on it somewhat. As a man, it's so important to determine, here's what I'm about, here's where I'm going. There are going to be some women that aren't going to want to go with you. That's okay. All you need is the right one to walk with you. And so it doesn't matter if you see a bunch of women going after celebrities or men that may embody a certain thing. What's important is to own what you embody as a man and know that that's going to be good enough for the right woman to want to embody that with you. The message is love. We got to learn how to love. We got to get there. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love is the solution. And so often us as men, we don't love very well. A lot of us, we're not taught how to love, and as a result, we don't always express that love to those we need to express it to the most. So I believe if we can get men to love, it's going to solve our problems. And that's what this book is about. It's a manual on how we can learn to love and giving women information along the way. It's not a book about what women need to do better. I think women are already doing the job. It's about what we as men have to do better. We've got to learn how to love. We got to love the person that looks back at us in the mirror and put ourselves in a process where we practice that love every day. In this era, in this time of social media, it becomes really, really critical to have a sense of self. Not a sense of selfie, a sense of self. Because, it takes sometimes 100 pictures for one selfie, right? So that's not really a sense of self. Because in the world of social media, that sense of self can get distorted. And that sense of self can be outsourced to likes and comments. And what happens when we do that, it's dangerous because people we don't know, people we don't even care about, begin to dictate how we feel on a day-to-day basis. So value and self-worth, I believe, should be found independent of social media. And as a matter of fact, anything that's posted should be a reflection of that value and self-worth, not a search for it, which is really a really important dynamic because sometimes we can be searching for ourselves with what we post. And who likes this and who likes that, and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that, versus saying, I have a sense of who I am, and I'm proud of that. And no matter what people say, no matter what people like, don't like, I'm going to post what represents me. That's why a lot of times, even when I post, I don't really go back and look at a lot of comments all the time. I don't always want that in my head. I don't even sometimes want to know how many likes. Sometimes I feel this is what I want to post. It can get 1 like or 1 million likes. It is what it is. And I think in an era of social media, it's important to manage social media or it will manage you or me. And it's not an easy thing, but it requires discipline. Discipline is something that we can use in every area of our life that will, I think, improve every area of our life. As a married man, let me talk about my dating habits. I don't have any, and I have a whole section in the book called Mastery in Dating. And what that means is, when you're single, especially when you're a man, you've got to put, love on display. And what does that mean? It means that put the woman you're dating, her needs, who she really is, as a priority for you. What does that look like? Be honest about your intentions. So as a man, if you're dating someone, tell her what you're serious about. Tell her where you're going. Don't keep her in a gray area. Don't manipulate her for your pleasure. Be honest about where you're going, what's going on, so that she can make the decision if she wants to deal with you or not. So often in dating, men can manipulate. They can, kind of say some of the truth but not the whole truth. Why? Because they want to sometimes keep women in certain positions for their own pleasure. And I argue that when men do that, they're not leading with love, they're leading with lust. And so for a single man that wants to be a master in dating, be intentional, be authentic, be original, and be vulnerable. You know, you're never gonna get to the victorious place in your life as a man if you're not vulnerable. And that vulnerability is hard. But when you open yourself up to the process, it can actually produce that in a way that can bring more healing than you may have thought. And the other thing I would say is commit. Don't be afraid of it. So often in dating, men are afraid to commit because they feel like, oh, it's gonna make me weak, it's gonna reduce my choices. But there's power and strength in commitment. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile.
I've never had someone love me so unconditionally. You know, in every other relationship, I felt that there was a condition of that love and a condition of that respect. And even if I fought against it, because I'm not going to let anybody disrespect me, but it didn't change the fact that those kinds of things were going on and those feelings were going on. And again, what you said, like someone who is connected to my purpose, someone who understands to the best degree that he can outside of God's mind and God has called me to be. Someone who is not insecure about my success. Someone who only pushes me to go further and higher. Someone who is brought. Oh, a tremendous amount of healing, you know. When you marry someone, you're going to go through all types of seasons. You're going to have seasons where you're into each other, where you're not feeling each other, where you have more sex than others. I mean, all kinds of seasons you go through in marriage, some that we haven't even seen yet. But our commitment is not just to God and not just to each other, but it's a commitment to getting married in the first place. It's God has allowed us to be in each other's lives, to hold each other accountable to who He's called us to be, to our purpose. So when you look at it as this is the person that God's given you on this journey, and you're committed to getting to where you need to go and committed to making sure He gets to where He's supposed to go, and vice versa, it becomes more about how you're feeling at any given moment or any given month or whatever's going on. Is no, this is a for life thing. This is for everything. We're on this journey, and we have a responsibility to ourselves, to God, and to the marriage. So I think a lot of times when people get married, like I said before, so people are like, okay, you sound crazy, girl. I said, if he was to ever cheat on me, that I would stay with him. Not because I'm a person who accepts someone who cheats, but because I know the quality of the man that he is. And he's not a man who would go and cheat. You know what I mean? So if something like that, God forbid, was to ever happen, instead of immediately saying, this marriage is clear in saying, like, I'm not encouraging someone to stay with someone who cheats. I'm encouraging someone to really know their mate, to really know their spirit, to really know their soul, to really understand the connection that they have with God and the quality of the human being that they are. So that any struggle that you come up across, a lot of times people just jump out and like, oh, I'm done. Because marriage, again, becomes a very conditional love thing. But when you love someone unconditionally, it doesn't mean that you accept mess or drama or disrespect or anything like that. It means that you look deeper and you look underneath the hood and you determine, is this the person that God wants you to be with? And if it is, then you love that person unconditionally and you work through it. You know what I mean? And you continue to grow and be better. Now, if a person doesn't want to grow and be better, and they want to stay in the same place and they want to continue to go backwards, later for you. But if this person wants to grow, then that unconditional love should be a growth that happens constantly together. You know what I mean? So with that being said, to me, divorce isn't an option. And it's not an option because I know the man that God's created me to be. Not because I want a man so bad. Not because I want a husband so bad. I don't want or need either. But God has given this to me, and that's a gift. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times in relationships, we get relationships like it's a need or it's a necessity. It's not a need. It's not a necessity. It's a gift. Wow.
After a month of dating a guy, how many of you would give him the code to your phone? Exactly. Most people be like, no, I ain't giving the man the code to my phone. I said, okay. I said, now listen, I'm not trying to get you business, but in your history, how many of you have already given him your body in that same period of time? If you can't trust him with the why would you trust him with the your body? Sorry, y'all, that wasn't the truth. So here's why this is so important. Is trust is so important to establish that as early as you can with someone, because your entire marriage rests on it. Period. If you do not trust the person you love, you will be miserable, because forever you will be insecure about, well, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Who are they with? When are they going? You know, it'll be so many different things. But when you know you can trust them, and I think fundamentally what she's saying is that there is a trust there because she knows who I am, I know who she is. It doesn't mean that we won't go through challenges. It doesn't mean that we don't go through challenges. But we fundamentally trust each other to commit to working through them because we have earned that trust and we built that trust together. As I read the lines of this pledge, as you make the personal decision to commit to this pledge, I'm asking for you to stand. So for every man, as I read this pledge, as you make the personal commitment to commit to this pledge, I'm asking for you to stand. Here's the Master's Pledge. Women are never at fault when I lose control of the dog. Nothing a woman wears, says, drinks, or does is an excuse for improper touching, remarks, or sexual behavior ever. I pledge to never harass a woman, period. I pledge to stop looking the other way. If I witness a friend or colleague harassing a woman, I will say something. I pledge to stop making excuses for times when I behave badly. It's not the culture, peer pressure, porn, alcohol, or anything else. It's me. I pledge to confess my sins, apologize to whom I've offended, and live every day to make it right. I pledge to take a woman's no for an answer. No means no, period. It doesn't mean maybe. It doesn't mean try harder. I pledge to quit acting like my manhood is an entitlement for sex. It's not. I pledge to get the help I need if I struggle with anger or violence. I have to break the cycle of physical, emotional, psychological abuse among men. And here are the last two lines of the pledge. I pledge to change my routine. If there's any part of my routine that makes me vulnerable to being less than I know I can be, I must change it. I pledge to take accountability for who I am and what I do, what I will be. I am now becoming. If you have stood, you have committed to the Master's Pledge. You can't live your life. You can't become different. We, as men, can and we will do this work. That is the real truth about men.
Did you like the video? That's right. Did you like it? Hit that like button.
Think big,
subscribe,
think tall.
and share
Think
it.
Tall boy.
Yeah!
Tall boy.